Alright, before we dive into it, my hair's straight today. It's usually not straight for those of you guys that know me. It's super curly. This is a new look. Kind of feeling it. Let's get started. Hey everyone, I'm Carmen, the creator of MakeRealSense.com, a personal finance blog dedicated to teaching you all about the do's and don'ts of personal finance with a little humor on the side. And today we are going to be diving into, well, my journey, because I'm kind of starting this YouTube channel and I want you guys to know who I am. Alright, so my story begins in 2009 when I graduated with my degree in finance and have been working in the industry ever since. Different banks, different roles, but I currently work in finance now and it's been awesome. But prior to 2016, where my debt-free journey really starts and where I created the blog, I sucked with personal finances. Sucked. I had $57,000 worth of debt that consisted of a car loan, a couple of medical bills, credit card stuff, and the biggest one, the mother load, student loans. Alright, so fast forward from 2009 where I got my degree in finance, I've been working in the industry ever since, been great at my career, but when it comes to personal finance, it's completely different. So what I like to tell everyone is finance in theory is great, that's what we learn and go to school for, that's what it helps us be successful with our careers, but when it comes to personal finance, it's a completely different ballgame. I mean, there really should be a degree on it, I think. Alright, so 2016 comes around and I'm like, I need to get my life together somehow. I had met my now fiance, soon-to-be wife, and I was just in the point where I really needed to start turning things around just for the sake of feeling like a successful adult, I guess. So 2016 rolls around, January, I'm set, I hit the ground running. I started listening to all the money podcasts that I could get my hands on, and I started with what I knew, which was investing, Jim Cramer, and then I somehow stumbled upon Dave Ramsey. He came up in my recommendations as far as podcasts is concerned, so I clicked on this guy and I was like, I wonder what this is about. And literally everyone that was calling in was like, oh my god, this is what I've been needing. I need like personal finance help, not Jim Cramer screaming at the TV or in the podcast about investment advice and what stock to pick. I need personal finance advice. And lo and behold, Dave Ramsey was that for me. So I started listening to his podcast religiously. I would listen to it every day, started consuming as much as possible, and I started reading as many personal finance books as I could. Now, up until this point, I had already been doing that a lot. I've always been super into personal finance, but I never applied what I was reading, and that's, I think, a very important piece. It's one, to get the knowledge, but it's two, to be wise and act upon it. So 2016 is where that kind of turned all around. I will leave this in my show notes for any of you interested in buying it, and I also have a post on his baby steps that goes a little more in depth on my blog. Link will be below as well. So started listening to Dave Ramsey, started working through his baby steps, and fast forward 2.5 years, I've been able to pay off $47,000 worth of debt. In that time, I've cash flowed a lot of things. I've kind of made my own journey, made my own path, and that's what I encourage everyone to do. But I will tell you basically the things that I've learned along the way. I wanted to be able to share my story first with you guys so you understand where I'm coming from and kind of how I view the journey and how I view money, life, and all that good stuff. So I had $57,000 worth of debt. I have $10,000 left to pay off. I've single-handedly been able to get a hold of my finances by budgeting. I'll say it again. Budgeting. A budget is literally the game changer in all of this, regardless if you listen to Dave Ramsey or not, because I don't necessarily agree with all of his stuff, but I am thankful for him and having, getting started with my journey because of him. But a budget, whether it's you need a budget or she needs a budget, no, I'm kidding. You Need a Budget is actually some really good software, and it's a book that you can also buy that gives you a little more flexibility. Their philosophy is a little different, which there's a lot of things that I definitely agree with and love in this book. So if you're not a total Dave Ramsey fan, You Need a Budget. It's also an amazing book you can read, grab. to help you out on your journey. But literally, a budget has been the number one thing that has helped transform my finances. Whether or not you want to save more, a budget can help you find money in your current finances to be able to do that. If you want to get out of debt, you are able to set up a budget and figure out the ways that you can kind of cut back on different areas of your life, or see where you're being wasteful so you can actually tackle your debt more efficiently. If you want to just get a hold of your finances and get more organized and understand where you're at as far as your net worth is concerned, or how many assets you have, or how much liability you have, a budget is what you need. And I might even go a step further and say that's maybe the only thing you really need. No, I lied. That's mine. But it's a good start. It's a good place to start. So what has helped me pay off $57,000? Well, sorry, going to be $57,000. I've paid off $47,000 right now. Is the number one thing has been a budget, and then second has been really not acquiring any more debt, right? So I haven't been, using my credit card or anything like that. I actually don't really believe in them anymore because I was terrible with them. But to each his own. If you're great with credit cards, I think we're all adults. You should know where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are. And credit cards are definitely my weakness. So, carry on if you use credit cards. Who cares? But anyways, the second thing I think has been not acquiring any more debt. So not looking or being envious when I see friends get new things like an iPhone or new cars. They're getting not apartments, but homes, and just going through all that adulting phase. And I don't know if they're acquiring it with debt or not, but it has been something that has been pivotal, being able to basically get this debt down as fast as possible. Third thing I will say is, again, just being engaged with money as much as I can. I read so many money feeds, so many money blogs, have met with so many money people, and have just constantly keeping that conversation going to where I'm focused on what my goal is and what I'm trying to do. And then also being accountable through my blog. I started it in August of 2016, and I did that because I had never heard of FIRE. For those of you that don't know what FIRE is, it is literally what I feel like I should have found maybe before Dave Ramsey, because it gave me the reason why I want to do stuff. FIRE, for those of you that don't know, is an acronym that stands for Financial Independence Retire Early, or Financial Independence Early Retirement, some people say. And when I talk about early retirement and that being the why, it's not necessarily something that I'm striving towards as soon as possible, but it's definitely on the rise, and something I had never heard of. There are people in their 30s and 40s essentially retiring early, saving as much as possible, retiring early, and it was just something that I had never heard of. I mean, come on, how many of you have ever heard of someone retiring before like 60? So my why essentially came from not from wanting to get out of debt and following Dave Ramsey and that whole program, but literally this book is one of the biggest game changers that has ever happened. It is called Early Retirement Extreme, and I'll also leave this in the notes below. But this book broke down every reason why you should be intentional with your money and figuring out what you want to do next, because you can ultimately choose the life that you want to if you're making good decisions about your money and being intentional about your money. He basically says in this book, you are exchanging time, your finite, precious time, for goods and services in this world. And when you really think about it, the breakdown as far as, if you make $10 an hour and a sandwich costs you $10 at Subway, like a whole Subway meal, right? It will cost you 1 hour of your life to pay for that sandwich. And when you really break down purchases or anything that you explore and really enjoy, as long as it's bringing you the most amount of joy possible, so the highest return on investment, the highest ROI, then that's okay. I mean, that's adding value to your life. But he really breaks down the thought of, what you're doing with your money and how to be intentional about it. Because, again, given that example, if you make $10 an hour and the Subway sandwich costs you $10, it costs you 1 hour of your life. Now, if you're doing that every day of the week, Monday through Friday for lunch, that's, $50. That costs 5 hours of your life. And then that accounts to 20 hours of your time every month just to pay for a sandwich. So thinking along those lines of every purchase and being intentional with your money is something that could essentially catapult you into early retirement if you read into it, learn about it, and become intentional with saving and really, really grasp the concept of what you're really exchanging your time for, which all the money in the world will never buy you extra time. That book is literally what inspired me to create my blog, and I'll also link to my first income report below, because now I've been able to start generating money from my blog, which I never thought was possible. But my blog has played a large part in helping me stay accountable with my journey and stay on top of it. Now, my philosophy differs a little bit from, maybe some other people in the debt-free community or the F.I.R.E community as far as paying down debt and saving money for early retirement. And that is, I do believe in moderation. So I feel like as intense as you should be or can be about your journey, whether that's saving money or getting out of debt, you can't be so strict that you eventually burn out and never want to do it again, because that won't get you to your goal. I think moderation and finding a level that's comfortable but is also expresses a sense of urgency is where everyone needs to find that sweet spot and that balance. So within the first 18 months of my debt-free journey, I paid off $38,000 worth of debt, and now I've kind of slowed the pace. I've eased it a little bit. And when I say ease it a little bit, in 2.5 years I've been able to fund some different vacations, an engagement ring for my soon-to-be wife, and also we're paying in full for a wedding in NYC in cash. Yeah. So all in all, the journey has been great, and I hope these tips help you guys to maybe necessarily find a balance or at least get inspired to get on a budget. That's just a small piece of my story, as quickly as I can tell it in a couple of minutes, but I hope you've been able to learn something from that. And essentially, the thing that has literally turned around, if you can take any of the things that I've threw out there today and anything away from the story, the number one thing that has turned around my finances is being on a budget. And it's not as restrictive as you think it should be or can be, or it's like a diet. I don't know.